Mr. Solis. Thank you first off for being here.
Well, thank you. Hey guys, so one of the things that I'm here, I have nothing to promote. I'm here to just help any founder or any entrepreneur better understand how to make their startup successful.
Actually, I just want to start off a little bit more about your backstory and what you've been up to. I mean, you basically have built a huge brand for yourself, but aside from that, you've learned a lot along the way with the different companies you mentioned. So let's talk a little bit about how you got started in startup. And we met, how did we meet? Like, we met years ago.
With like 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a long time. But you were basically starting and hustling companies, getting them going, building up brands, basically, and getting them out there. Yeah. What are some tips maybe that people can learn from that, like your experiences in launching companies?
You know, so I've started launching companies back in '97, and one of the things that I found that's still common today with founders and companies is that we get caught up in the company mode, and that the lifestyle of being an entrepreneur, the lifestyle of hustling, is not always the best focus. The best focus is building a business and building a market and building a community around that company. And it's hard work, but at the same time, it's literally you're building a business. And I found then, and I still find today, that there's also an allure of being part of that startup culture that can sometimes be distracting. Okay, so some of the backstory for those who care or don't care. I mean, the reason why there are startup hotspots in Seattle, Austin, New York, Los Angeles is because I took what was in Silicon Valley and started to invest in all of these pockets of where I saw great entrepreneurs doing cool things.
Right.
Silicon Valley is a mess. I mean,
you heard it here first. Silicon Valley is a mess.
It is. I call it the Hollywood Homes Tour. Now we have companies that are coming out from all over the world, and they're trying. Oh, we have to go meet with Google, and we have to meet with Facebook, because there's some allure of the water in Silicon Valley.
Right. But like you have to be there.
But the reality is you don't have to be there. I've been investing in Singapore and Hong Kong and looking at hotspots all around the world. It's just you have to have a desire to solve problems that other people cannot see. And this is something where if I could give you any advice, it would be, what is the problem you're trying to solve, and how do we attach dollars and market creation around that? And we don't spend enough time doing that. I find with startups is everybody feels like they're going to disrupt.
Yes.
Or they're going to feel like they're going to innovate. One of the things that a lot of companies actually haven't figured out is the distinction between innovation and iteration.
Right.
So we see a lot of companies doing the same things better than the companies before them. That's iteration. That's not innovation. Innovation is doing new things that creates new value. And why is that important? Because innovation has the best exits. And then that leads to disruption, because disruption is doing new things that makes the old things obsolete. And the reason why I had to classify them separately is because I know how much I will get on an ROI between those things. Culture is the most important part of any startup. And I don't mean having a startup culture. I mean having a culture of leadership and vision and direction. And this is why, listen, one of the hardest things to do when you're growing a startup is to have to replace the founder with the CEO or a COO, because there's no skill set in getting that company to the next level. So whatever your idea is, it is only good enough for the next 2 to 3 years, right? And so the value proposition has to continue to evolve based on how society is evolving. And I call that digital Darwinism. Technology evolves, society evolves. So culture, adaptability, and what you set out to do has to continue to evolve, because how you define value and how whoever your user is that defines value are different things, and it's continually evolving. And the last thing that I'll say is I can't emphasize enough about the evolution of user experience and design and interface design, because what you set out to create today is not what's going to be relevant, even how we interact with it in 2 to 3 years. And so as a founder, as an entrepreneur, when you're building your companies, you have to plan for obsolescence. You have to plan that you are going to be obsolete, and you have to have a program that you have to try to put yourself out of business in cycles. And I actually look at those cycles as in 18 months. And I actually would love for you to consider or adopting a tagline like, you can't disrupt if you don't disrupt yourself.
You know, we're here in Austin. The theme here is keeping it weird. You see a lot of culture, corporate, startup, all over the board there. I wanted to find out, like, how do you keep it weird? Personally?
Dude, I keep it weird because, look, I actually am weird. I think we're all weird in our own regards. That's why we start companies and do cool shit.
Yeah.
It just took me a long time to figure out that it was okay to be weird.
Right.
And so I started my first company later in my career, and it was because I felt like you were supposed to follow the rules, and this is the way it's always been done. Every aspect of your life was pre-programmed based on your parents and their parents.
Right.
Like, get married, buy a house, go to university. Well, I didn't finish college. I couldn't do it. I couldn't keep a job longer than a year or 18 months. I was really sick and tired of offering ideas and being put back in my place. And so I keep it weird by fucking keeping it real. And I'm not going to stop doing that.